Now we're going to see wuxiaoqi versus Yuki. Let's see who wins this one. Alright, so wuxiaoqi versus Yuki. We got an India versus a Japan. India versus Whole Live Girls. That's pretty fun. So, India versus Japan. This is a tough one to call. I've seen this matchup a lot in my ranked days, and it really depended on how good the Japan was. I feel like when times when the Japan was really strong, they made it really miserable for me as India, because they were able to move in and out and weave in with those Ashigaros so bad that I couldn't get the, fights that I wanted. I've dealt with some weaker Japans where India has done absolutely good with. I think another thing as well to consider is basically the fact that a lot of the Japans that I used to deal with back in the day when I did ranked were very turtleish. They used to build walls. They used to build a ton of castles. So I don't think we're going to be seeing that sort of gameplay in a tournament setting. So probably a different set of expectations for what the Japan matchup is going to be like here. So yeah, we'll see. Obviously, just like any matchup on Great Plains, Japan does great here because they got a ton of hunts that they can exploit for the shrines. So they can sort of stay in this sort of ballpark here to get all these hunts, so they don't have to risk them out here as much. But eventually they certainly can head out there as well. So, yep, Japan on Great Plains has a ton of economy options that they can utilize, which is cool. So the Japan will start with 2 villagers first. Keep in mind that Japan can ship these cards twice, so they can go for 4 vills out of that card if they really want to. It's pretty rare since, honestly, I think you're better off waiting till age 2. So if you want to go for super greed, you can go 4 vill, and then you're looking at 10 vills instead of merely just like 4 here. So, yeah, but obviously I think Japan is definitely looking more in the direction of going with Ashigarus, Yumis, crates, way before that, right? Another thing that I've never touched on in the tournament as well is the inclusion of this card, Cherry Orchard Rickshaws. This is a good backup card while you're fighting that you can ship these in at any time, and it saves you time that you don't need to build rice paddies. So every good Japan player should include this card in their deck so that they never need to use rice paddies. They can have enough food to win them a game where they can have the improved gather rate from the cherry orchards and never have to rely on building and upgrading rice paddies, which can be really tedious and harmful. And that's why you also see the card here, Refrigeration, too, so that the cherry orchard gather rate will be even stronger for Japan once they hit that fortress age, which is quite good. Yeah, so going to Shugu Shrine this time. So this is the other option for a Japan player. You can go Torii Gate to go for early game advantage, or you can go to Shugu Shrine for economic greed. The Toshugu Shrine is exactly what it says it is. It's a shrine. So it acts as a shrine, gives you population, it trickles you more resources, it lures in huntables nearby, and it also has an aura. The nearby shrines will also have their trickle rates improved. So this shrine here, as well as so many other shrines that you build near it, are actually gonna be better shrines and get you even more economy, right? Thankfully in Definitive Edition, Japan has it a bit easier, because what they can do is they can go with the Dutch consulate allies, build a livestock pen, and actually train some goats right around the Toshugu there, and then they'll just put the goats onto those shrines. So even if you don't have a ton of hunts over there, you can still theoretically set it up so you can have like 5 or 6 of your shrines around that corner there to get a really good boom going. Right. Now, one interesting thing we see India doing, which I think is pretty smart, actually using the native scout that they got from a treasure, as well as the elephants, to actually rush a shrine. These elephants do 15 siege, and combined it's about 30. Add the native scout, it's about 35 siege. So if they can down a shrine just using explorers, that's a huge punch in the gut to the Japan. cuts their economy back really good. The India is going to go for wood shipment, it looks like. Since this is the India we saw last game, they're sticking with the Karnamata 10 villager build order. I think in this situation, maybe the Karnamata is going to be a bit more rewarding. Because what we had the last game was the France played semi-fast fortress and punished India hard in H2 for going greedy. This Japan is going to be going potentially with some more aggression out of this barracks and consulate, so a little bit more of a chance, I think, for the India to be able to keep up against the Ashigarus. But that being said, Ashigarus are going to be a real pain to deal with because these guys have a movement speed of 4.5, whereas the Sepoys only have a standard build movement of 4. So Ashigarus can outrun Sepoys, run back, shoot them, run back, shoot them. And if the player isn't paying attention, they can get a ton of free damage on your troops, which can be very bad. You have to be very vigilant of that when you're dealing with Japan. One good thing about this forward base for Japan, they're going to get the 320 XP treasure on the Great Plains map. And that's going to mean a whole nother unit shipment for Japan. They're going to probably be able to add in their Yumi archers and have one additional multiplier troop to down the Sepoys with. That being said, it looks like the India does double down into double barracks, so they can double queue Sepoys as needed to catch up with Japan. The Japan here only has one barracks, but they also have their consulate to make some Yamabushis, because it looks like they are in the Japanese isolation right now. And these Yamabushis, for the most part, are going to act as a siege trooper here and help to get these buildings down. And if India does ship in Sawar or Delhi, they're gonna basically be able to counter multiplier those troops very good, basically. So yeah, right now it looks like that Japan has a real edge against that India, and it's gonna do a good job of chasing them off. Notice how this India has very little troops there to work with, and now with all these Sepoys coming in, it's going to be pretty deadly for the India to hold that. Let's look at the resources. So India can definitely still afford Sepoy. They are actually sending in the ASAPs as well, so it's not over yet. The Fat Lady did not sing yet. So yeah, basically they can try to defend. Japan getting in their second cherry orchard tech in, also shipping in 4 villagers to reinforce their economy. Got a good number of shrines because you can already start to see that score advantage for the Japan player. Second barracks is actually going to go down as well, so that's 400 wood worth of military production zones down the tube, right? Also going for the military rickshaw of the Japanese isolationism, so I wonder if that's going to go to a barracks or a stable. Because you can build a barracks or a stable with a military rickshaw with Japan. So, will he be going double Ashigaru, or is he going to be going with... Yeah, he's going stable. So, we might be seeing some supporting Naginata riders here in the event that India tries to add in Gurkhas. Is a good way to punish Gurkhas. So, it looks like that Japan is being pretty flexible here in the possibility that Gurkhas are a threat. India calls in the emergency units in to help deal with the Ashigaru threat, but these guys are going to run pretty fast and try to kite all of this as best as they can. I think the emergency units will take the brunt of it. The Japanese explorer does use the smoke bomb to get out of there safely, and these Ashigarus will not be getting out of here alive. So that is technically a defensive win for India. But that being said, more Ashigarus have already come to harass this position, force the villagers into the TC to shoot them off. And yeah, right now that's what it is. India getting foreign logging. This is a second wood trickle card to get with India. First one they send is their first card as always. Distributivism is their first wood trickle, so they can maintain villager economy easier. And then they follow it up with foreign logging. So their wood trickle is so good, then you can take off even more villagers from wood and get other resources. You can get more hunters, you can get more gold gatherers. So that you can actually maintain 2 barracks, or a stable and a barracks, you know? That's sort of the extra issue that India has to deal with. They actually have to take more of their villagers off of the necessary food and gold that they need, so they can just maintain a regular villager economy on the wood. So they get that extra challenge, unfortunately. But at the same time, you know that wood is the only resource you need to spend those vills on. So you know all your food and all your gold is available there for military. So it's kind of a good and bad thing. It's nuanced, like most things in an RTS game. So India right now in such good shape they can actually queue in 10 sepoys, but they also have the delis from the Ottoman consulate ready to go. Nagys right now are actually not that good because the India has not made any effort to make skirmish units, so the Nagys are kind of going to be a nag to the Japanese economy. A Nagy. Delis sort of the same thing, but I understood why he got those. Because the delis are at least going to be able to snare these Ashigarus and give the sepoys a clean shot at them. So the delis make a little bit of sense here, right? So it does work in somewhat, and he is using the sepoys to test his ability to shoot these Ashigarus, but he does need to consider these Nagys as well and quickly slice them with his swords too, right? The ASAPs are kind of an interesting one because their range attack is kind of poop. But the rate of fire is actually reasonable, so they're doing a little bit more damage than you would expect them to, since they're an archer. Looks like the India is going off with Ottomans right now, and they'll probably go onto the Brits to get some redcoats and beef up the HP of his troops slightly. Shipment of Sawars has also arrived to snare these Ashigarus further. More Nagys is being made by the Japan. I think in this case the Nagys are doing a good job at stalling the Sawars and giving the Ashigarus a chance to retreat. But it does look like he's going to lose all those cab though. At least the Nagys can somewhat retreat. Yeah. I also don't know why he's going with Shinobis there. Probably because it's a range support, right? And I think theoretically it would be better than a Yamabushi there. More sepoys queuing in for the India. Also going for camel attack to get the Sawar attack rate up by 30%. 30%, that's huge. 30%. Gonna queue up more Shinobi no Momos there. The interesting thing about Shinobis, they're one of the only skirmisher units in the game that has no malice against cav. So they're essentially doing range damage similar to a musketeer because they don't have any range multipliers, but they do have full damage on all troop types. So Shinobis are one of the best skirmishers to use against cavalry because they are dealing that full damage to the cav unit. The only thing that it's kind of being hindered is their pierce armor. So, yeah. In this situation, Japan at this point has burned through all their stuff except for the Yumis, and they're getting the Ashigaru musketeer attack. Get their Ashigarus in a much stronger position. I would be getting the Yumis now. You need some Yumi archers. Get some Yumi archers to deal with these sepoys, right? Nagys is not the call. Stop making Naganatas. Naganatas is going to get you destroyed. You got to go Ashigaru with Yumi shipments. This unit comp is falling apart. You do not make hand cav until you see a skirmisher on the field. Do you understand me, sir? You understand me, private? You do not do that. It's very bad. You do not make hand cav until you see skirmishers on the field or artillery. So that's very horrible. Honestly, the Japan, I feel like, threw the game just by going for hand cav when there was no visible skirmishers in play by India. That, I think, messed them up. Yeah, I think if they went double barracks, either made Ashigaru or even Yumi, this would have been a clean win for Japan, but they just threw their advantage out the door by giving India a ton of wins. Yeah, I mean, frankly, if they win double barracks Ashigaru and they maintain the micro appropriately, they could have probably beat out the sepoys with proper micro. Maybe. Or at least had a better shot, and then they could have shipped in Yumi archers to be that extra edge to deal with the sepoys. But in this case, because they're still burning their economy with Ashigarus. Come on now, you've done it bad enough. Don't do it any worse. It's sad and it's embarrassing. I'm cringing. I'm crying for you. I'm wondering when you're going to improve, because you cannot make more handcap. There's no Gurkhas. There's never been a single skirmisher being trained by this India. And for some reason, he's still insisting on making handcap. That's a bad idea. And you know why it's even worse for the Nagis? The Nagis are mostly specialized against skirmishers and general handcap, so yeah, they're not like Hussars even, so they're even a weaker handcap to push with than a Hussar is, so I don't know what he's going for with these Nagis against these Sep boys with handcap. It's just detrimenting his resource count for nothing, when he could have just went with more Ashigarus or Yumis and, you know, had a contestable force there, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so now it's way too late. No more food, gold is run dry, India base is cleaned out, they're starting to liberate themselves. And they still have their gold, by the way, too, so they could have even went for an H3 and gone into the next round of shipments. You know, so India, I think in that sense, played it out pretty appropriately and did a great job. Yeah, quite good job.